Hello, everyone. I'm Veronica, and this is my friend Lori. And we're here to talk about paradigm shifting, whether we're shifting with political stuff or whether we're shifting with consciousness. I love, as an intuitive, I really love consciousness these days because it's rising above what was the status quo for a long time. That gives us kind of magical powers, doesn't it? Welcome, Lori. Hi.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. So you can see it's nighttime here and it's daytime where Veronica is. And that's because we're across the world from each other. I'm in France where it's incredibly cold at night. And how is it in Washington, V?
It's dull and cold. You have to put a coat on to go outside, but it's not freezing. And that's nice.
Excellent.
But it's dull. I like it better when it's very bright outside, even if it's cold.
Well, that's what it's like here during the days. It's just magnificent. It's so beautiful. I mean, France is just, it's paradise. Can you hear the bell?
Yes, I can. Every time I speak with you, we hear that darn it bell. We must be speaking on hour, right?
There we go. It's the 8 p.m. hour here. And I live right next to a church, which is pretty amazing, energetically speaking.
And it's an old building, is it?
14th century.
Yeah, that's a while.
13th, 14th century village.
And can you feel the consciousness of those times coming through the building?
Yes, I can. Since I've been in France, I've also gotten very in touch with some past lives that I've had, and that was part of my sojourn here. And now it's my home. So it's been an interesting journey of healing and embracing what was once very difficult. This is 528 hertz, the sound of the frequency for love.
So that's wonderful. And I play that on my phone at night when I can't sleep, and they play the music that goes with it and brings that amount of hertz up. Oh. And I do appreciate it. It helps me sleep deeply, actually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure Miricris is pounding on your head to get in. So you want to go with Miricris?
Miricris really wants to speak with us all about consciousness, about moving the consciousness. The consciousness has not been stable. It's not been this way for hundreds of years. It actually is rising. And the theory, I'm calling it a theory, but let's say it's beyond that. That the idea is that we are moving inside vibrationally. We're vibrational beings of light, ostensibly, and we're all cluttered up by a whole bunch of beliefs and that kind of thing. But with the consciousness movements that are going on out throughout the solar systems, not just one solar system, but throughout all of them, what's happening is there's a great deal of possibility in how we think and feel, our healing possibilities, our comprehension of one another, our working with the land, and so on. All of that is becoming more and more, not only possible, but in the hands of many people who are waking up to their power as a vibrational being of light. You understand? Mm-hmm. And Miricris always says it'll be about 30% of the population that's really going to get into that. And I hear a lot of reports about what's going on in France. There's a whole lot of activity going on that's political. Would you say it's vibrationally on the rise?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because the government has not fallen. That's the hyperspin of the media.
Okay.
It's not like that. And the government hasn't shut down. In fact, Macron is going to be extending the budget in through 2025, the existing budget, as he's announced. But where the pro-democracy movement...
He's not far right, is he?
No, he's a centrist.
Mhm.
But what's fascinating, and this was the uprising from both the left and the right, was Macron had appointed a prime minister who was right, pretty far right. The guy was one of the designers of Brexit in the UK, and not well liked, but it was a way to appease the right-wing party that has gained seats, but it was the left that gained the most seats. So he's playing both sides. He brought in the prime minister who he thought could get the job done. This prime minister, and this is where the pro-democracy element comes in, thinks that he can push the budget through without any approval from either party. Just dictatorial.
Why would he think that?
Because
What's
this
his
is
role?
sort of what people are doing in the world, this dictatorial kind of mindset. So both parties, both the left and the right, worked together and rised up and said, "You're out. How dare you?" And now Macron he's promised to get a new prime minister by the weekend.
Well,
But that's
good.
one small example when you asked of what's happening in the world, and we'll get into it with all these pro-democracy movements. It's so fascinating. The rise is huge. There was another one today. So
was it in Ghana? I heard a big long report on Ghana.
The one I've been following was not in Ghana. I'm following Romania. But
that's a wonderful one.
Yeah, maybe we should hold off on this and get in with Miricris.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of people have sent in a lot of questions. We have questions about spirituality and how the spirit world works, and we have questions about the world at large, politics, and yeah, vibrational things.
I'll be right back. We are here, and we are pleased to be speaking of these elevations of consciousness that are moving throughout much of the civilization on your planet. Not everyone, but it's popping up all over the planet. You understand that? And we want to call it without question evolution. And no, it doesn't take everyone with it. But evolution is moving through probably about 30% of the population on your planet. And it's popping up in many countries with slightly different proportions. And the evolution is about understanding one another, becoming more and more intuitive, understanding about healing, having a rapport with the land and the atmosphere, every aspect of life on the planet. You will find even what you would call administration or even inventions and so on. Everything is going to be shifting and rising in order to accommodate a much more sensitive field, if you understand.
Mm-hmm. Well, that leads right into one of the first questions somebody has sent in, and they're asking about what are the steps that people, after they die and pass over, what are the steps that people do in the spirit world in order to become guides or guardian angels?
Well, I would say several things about that. There are people who are already being tutored vibrationally to become guides when they live their lives and then release themselves. You understand that? So it's a long-term process. Or perhaps we would say, instead of long-term, which implies the language of the calendar and so on, it is more of an evolution within individuals. You know this, that as you want to become who you really are, that sometimes is a long process, and not everyone wants to be a guide, but everybody has got some drive about being who they want to become. And we say that when people are passing, or even before they're passing, some know they want to guide others, that they want to be angels and so on. And that process is already underway in their body, mind, and psyche. Can you understand that?
Yeah, so that leads to the question of what is the difference between a guardian angel and a spirit guide?
That's a good question. Not very much at all, because a guardian angel is a spirit guide in many ways with a special role. And the role is that which is protecting, guiding, and being sure that you keep the person on track. Spirit guides are a little different. They can open and connect with many people at once, not be so aligned with one or another. You understand? And that they work to, what would you call, increase the frequency of the atmosphere and keep moving through that kind of thing. So spirit guides can be talking to, many people at a time. And they will enter the minds of many people at a time. Whereas the guardian angel is more specifically aligned with one person or another, or one style of being a human being and another. Do you see?
Yeah, exactly.
And it is a choice, but it's not really a choice. It's as if you have an astrology set up in yourself, but you can't really choose it off and on throughout the day, can you? It's a little like having that fingerprint or that aspect of yourself already aligned.
And then do spirit guides and guardian angels, do they ever return to Earth? Have you ever?
Once again, that's an option. They can return to Earth and become, there are some, maybe not too many, but there are some who come in to life on this planet again in order to gain information, to understand, to really comprehend what it is to be a human being and refine that light in themselves. We say light because sometimes when people are dealing with their shadow, it doesn't appear to have any light at all. But if there's an infusion of consciousness in that, there could be a great deal of light in the shadow. Do you understand? So we're saying there's a kind of a stitching and suturing and birthing spirit beings who want to enter the physical plane and take on some depth and some expansion of what it is to be a human being who's got a defined astrology system and so on. You understand?
Yeah, boy, we could really use their help on the planet. Those who choose to come back, it would be wonderful.
And you understand that there is a huge number of spirit beings around the earth at this time. And part of the reason for that, and you can count on this actually, is that when the earth plane and the people on it are shuffling around inside of themselves to try to release themselves from the cocooning of some of the control issues that human beings have to put up with, you find more and more and more spirit beings who want to be around the planet in order to officiate the irradiating higher frequency energies all around. You understand that? So you have a great number of spirit beings around at this time. Wow. And regarding guardian angels, it's not quite the same. So we say a great number of spirit beings. We say you have a number of guardian angels as well, but it's a more specific task around a more specific person or a small group of people. You understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
And perhaps even those ones can be relating to life in other planetary systems or other solar systems. Do you understand that?
Are there examples of Miricris? Do you have some examples of people currently on the earth that would transcend as a spirit guide or a guardian angel?
We see some, without names, we see some, at this point, there are some, a number of them in, we would say Romania. We would say in In the Eastern European world, you notice that there's been a lot of history on metaphysical and psychic things that have been birthed in there. You understand that? That is much more favorably accepted in those Eastern European countries. Now, with the Ukraine and with Romania and even Poland, there are a number of those countries that are moving more consciousness, bringing in spirit beings in order to move more consciousness at a greater rate. Many people, for example, are passing in the Ukraine, and you know this. And we're saying that that isn't the worst thing. The greatest thing is as they pass, some are becoming, not just in the Ukraine, this is an example, some are becoming much more conscious than you would even understand. So as spirit beings, they're raring to go as they come across. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's a difference. It's not a linear progression of events. The linear part is the taking of the soul through many levels of consciousness. And when they pass under severe conditions and probably under terrible suppressions and so on, you can make it up, they pop up and become much more elevated, very often aligned with a much higher consciousness, because those beings are aware that they're seeking an evolution even amidst this war. Can you understand that link we're making?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's the evolution that pushes the spirit beings to rise above what the consciousness of the people on the planet are at this time.
Got it. And this kind of leads into another question that somebody asked, which is, how do we see our spirit guides? What can we do to see them or our guardian angels?
Well, we want to say this to you. Have fun with it. For if you cross your eyes, you cross your eyes up, focus into your forehead, it's easier to see them when you're doing that, because the subtle energy fields that we live in, they're very subtle energy fields. Sometimes you see them in sparkles, sometimes you see them in colors, and the colors represent the levels of consciousness or the aspects of the beings as they're working on your planet. And if you shift your eyes in a pointed focus here, you will find that you get a headache, and you find also that you begin to perceive into subtle frequencies, and you will perceive them in different colors. Again, colors of very, almost a strident recognition of levels in which you are. So even just sitting like that, breathing deeply and allowing the discomfort to speak to you, because it will begin to shift and you'll begin to see beyond your third dimensional brain. And you may not jump into the whole etheric beingness at that point, but in time you will. And many people have a very good cognitive awareness of their own angels and so on. And that's when they become more physical, you see, more physically, meaning that they can be seen by you because you've retrained your brain to move beyond the third dimension.
Right. Okay. And the question about the energy of stones, sodalite, amethyst, citrine, quartz, crystal, rose quartz. There's hundreds, if not thousands. And stones have properties, energetic properties to them.
Yes.
It's funny, this person is asking that it's funny that many people just accept it who aren't even metaphysical, that they accept that geology has that energetic footprint. We
could say that knowledge is ancient. Is that a question, or were you complete yet?
Well, after you, Miricris.
What we want to say, which is rather interesting, is we are channeling through this one, And with every stone that you spoke, we felt running through her body those vibrations that go with that stone.
Wow.
So sound is frequency, you know this. And
Yes.
the vibrations that each stone speaks of are felt by those people that are extremely sensitive. And that just tells you that when you get a stone that you love, you are amping up the frequency that you can, if you're sensitive or if you're practiced, you can already feel it in your body. And the reason we're saying that is because you're a composite of all kinds of frequencies, and to break them into their task-oriented existence is helpful. It's very magical, is it not?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there any particular stones that you would recommend for most of the population?
Crystals, mostly because, and not only crystals, because they could be quartz crystals or they can be amethysts and so on. A lot of them have a very similar or parallel motion, electrical motion in them. You understand? So you just pick what you like and it can move the energies in your body. And if you use, for example, let's choose gold. People love gold, don't they? Don't we? And you choose gold because it moves almost everything. You see? And we know, you know, that amethyst will move a certain amount of the brain pattern, and some of the body. Some people find with turquoise, it moves the throat chakra more swiftly, but it depends on the quality of the turquoise and the intensity and the density of the stone itself. And also the intensity and density of the stone that you're holding in your throat, you see?
Right. And
So
also raw versus polished.
Pardon me?
Raw stones versus polished stones. Raw stones, my understanding is it's much better for energetics than having a polished version.
Well, it could be, although we're saying to you that once again, it depends upon you. And for example, if you've got a very bright turquoise stone-like energy in here, it won't matter which one you use, you see, because you've already got an alignment with your body. You understand that? Some people are born with very, very specifically aligned chakra energies or body energies, and some people are not. So it's not easy to make one statement or another, except something like gold is just about always useful for everyone.
Ah, okay.
Mostly because it will work to dislodge a number of the patterns. They're not always problems, but they're often patterns that you've held in your own body, and you might want to break those open in order to expand them. At that point, you might want to use an unpolished stone in order to have the points and nooks and crannies that are in a more rough stone, and that gives you more activity within your body. But you understand what we're saying, which is you can never be sure which way you need it at this time.
And what would you recommend stone-wise for clearing negative energy?
Oh, well, one thing which is very simple is to make sure that the stone that you're holding has its own light. And some things are dull and some things are bright. They could both be gray, but one is dull and one is light. And you take the one that's bright and light and move it with your body, you see? That just gives you, you understand, it gives you a way of understanding that this has more clout. It's moving me, you see?
But are there any particular types of stones that you would recommend for moving negative energy?
One moment. Well, we're kind of saying to you over and over again, which is, it depends on what's going on with you. Negative energy is a variety of things in itself. we would say the traditional word negative energy. You need something that is electrically alive. It's going to move in your body. For example, if you've got a wonderful heart chakra, it's red, but you go through some grief, your negative energy could be a dark, almost a maroon, but a dull kind of energy. You see that in people's heart chakras fairly often when they have widowing or that kind of thing. And so the negative energy that comes from, for example, heartbreak is better. You're better to apply something that's fun and lively and perky and a lot of green, a lot of gold, a lot of silver, things that have a vibrant, and you know the difference. You could tell what's got a vibrant color in it and what doesn't. You know that.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And on a really exciting, kind of shifting now to politics a little bit in the global stage, is quite exciting what's going on. I know there's a lot of, people are somewhat skeptical right now, but it's just amazing what's going on in Georgia. The President Salome Zorabichvili, excuse me, I've slaughtered her last name, but Salome. She, there was an election there for people who don't know, and by a very narrow margin, a right-wing candidate came in, but there was tons and tons and tons of fraud that had Russia all over it. And the population of Georgia, 86% of the people already wanted Georgia to belong to the EU, and it's in their constitution. And this candidate had decided it was going to take another 4 years, he said. Well, people hit the streets demanding democracy, demanding a re-election from the starting all over again. And Salome, I'm going to call her President Salome, she refuses to step down until a new election is called. Not even a recount, a complete redo. So very powerful.
A very courageous woman. You realize that? And we see in her vivid blue, it's more blue than turquoise throat. And we see a very vivid heart, and it's red. And she has a terrific sense of power in her. She would rather die than not complete this task. Do you understand that?
Do you feel that this, people are in the streets, it's quite violent, and they're demanding this re-election and for this pro-Russian right-wing candidate to step down. Do you think that will happen?
Yes.
Great.
Mostly because it back to colors and stones and so on, there's a vividness in what they're doing. It's unfortunate that people are passing, but they might be the ones en route to becoming spirit beings. We're not saying coldly, it's too bad if people pass that we don't even want to think about them. No, not at all. That there's a huge elevation when people move through a certain kind of challenge for the greater good. And this is part of the evolution of your species. Not only this one, but there are several countries. There's a number of countries, in fact, that are having their own version of this battle. And we're saying it is the evolution of humanity around, not just humanity, but humanity's systems right around the world. Do you understand that?
Yeah, because it's quite exciting also in South Korea.
Yes, very much.
So this dictatorial president comes in. I mean, he's been in office. He decides he's going to call martial law on his legislation and on the people. That was rescinded within hours. And the people took to the street. And there is an amazing news footage of a Democratic politician in South Korea, this woman, her name escapes me, but CNN ran the story, and she went up to, it was just a violent clash, And she walked up to this military soldier, grabbed his gun. She's almost 5'1". He's in full military drag. She grabs his gun and wrestles with him and is going berserk. And then he pulls away and he walks away. And she goes after him, talking a blue streak.
Good for her.
Anyway, she's a very prominent Democratic candidate in South Korea. And that, again, people are not taking it. And these are such great examples for the United States. And it doesn't stop there. I mean, what's going to happen to the South Korea leader?
I do not know at this time. However, we say that leadership will be in and amongst, it'll be democratic. It'll be in and amongst the people. Also, the women, in and amongst the women of South Korea. You know that.
Yes, the strong feminist movement there in reaction to the previous governments, which has depopulated the country, basically. That's how they've dealt with it.
Which is very interesting, because that little woman didn't take no for an answer with a strong male who was restrictive, because the women are already angry enough. They have more muscle in their hearts and souls than they've had before. Do you understand that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And not only that, that is reaching out in different parts of the whole world, the entire world.
Wow.
Yes, this is a change that's going on, and we're recommending that people hold the light on those kinds of things, and they pray, because prayer sends amazing frequencies out. And there's a possibility, and it's a little bit of a lumbering job right now, but there's a possibility of the massive consciousness around the planet shifting and holding a steady higher level. And a higher level would assume more unconditional love, more respect, more fairness, more understanding of animals and plants and one another. Do you understand that? It's a fight. It's a fight. It's not a piece of cake, but it's a fight.
Right. And the other pro-democracy movement that just happened today is Romania. Oh my God. Romania has now, the High Court of Romania has annulled the country's election. They just had a presidential election. The High Court said no. It was riddled with fraud again, possibly Russian. And the far-right ultra-nationalist candidate just barely won. And the High Court went, no, you don't. We're going back and we're starting all over again, and we're having a brand new election. I mean, this is 3, 4, 5 countries right now.
But you know what's going to happen, Lori, is that there's going to be a kind of a harmonious reaction in America because of these big statements being made by smaller countries and for the inequities and the fraud and so on. You watch, the consciousness is shifting all over the world, and it's going to have a huge impact on America.
Wow. Do you think people will be marching in the streets?
I do. Yes, I do.
Yep.
And what we're seeing here, back to stones and colors and so on, we're seeing that the heart of many people in, for example, America, and that's only one example, is becoming hurt. There's a pain that comes up in response to this dictatorship. And that pain is what makes people activate protections and activate evolution. You understand that? So very exciting time, and it's difficult, but it's difficult not to have it as well, is it not?
Right. But in watching all these pro-democracy movements around the world right now, what's going on behind the scenes still with this election fraud situation in the United States?
You understand a lot of it in America is about money. Do you understand? If they could pay for whatever it is they want to accomplish, the money will usually work. But that's not going to work too much anymore. So there is a movement toward having Mr. Trump run things. But you'll find that the rising tide is, what would we call it? It's not just a straight up rejection, but it's like people are getting sick of what's going on, and it's going to tear apart the fabric. And there will be, even as we speak of this, there's a nausea in the solar plexus in the chest. And as we speak of this, you're going to find people tearing apart what they can in order to change the way the dominance has been. And most of the dominance is through monetary things, not through the numbers of people. There's too many people in America are, what would you call it, entranced or bamboozled by the elections already been had. You see, they're saying that. Whereas some of these other countries are saying, no, we're not doing that. You see? Right. And so there's a ripping and tearing going to go on in America. And we're having a great deal of optimism, because it's going to put many people into a state of, what would we call it? Truth seeking, as opposed to power seeking. You see, there's a lot of big shifts that have to happen in America.
Right. And I think what's on a lot of people's minds is, again, behind the scenes. We saw a couple shows ago that they were working diligently on uncovering fraud in the US election. Do you feel this is still occurring?
Oh, yes. But it's very difficult because people are being shut up, often through money and threats. Do you understand that? Well, you know, this is true all over the world, right?
Yes, yes.
But America's gloss has a lot to do with its quantity of dollars. You
right.
See, there's a huge life and death struggle here. It's really huge.
Right.
We'll see what Elon Musk does and what your Trump does, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of cruelty being applied in this particular battle. We say that it will probably take till February. We said this before, to actually release the bondage of people having to be quiet, people being bought off. People, do you understand? There's an awful lot of collusion going on. It's a dangerous kind of collusion, life and death. But like in many of these countries, they would rather die than be putting up with this incredible, incessant, fraudulent control.
Yeah. And do you feel that
Mexico is going to help a lot? You understand?
Yeah. The president, Claudia Sheinbaum, she's amazing. What a powerhouse.
She is brave. Lori, she's very brave.
She has stepped up again in another letter against Donald Trump, clearing up any misinformation that he has spread. She has been right there responding. So, and making her own, like, hey, if you don't want to work with us, we're going to go work with China.
And also she's working, like you said just now, she's putting one foot in front of the other. She's not sitting around wringing her hands and hoping he'll be nice to her.
Oh God,
no. She just as soon he wasn't nice, because she doesn't want any part of him.
Yeah.
But the other thing she has been very clear about is what they bring to America and what they don't have to put up with any longer. It's quite exciting.
Very exciting. And she's demanding the respect that they so rightfully deserve. But let me go back, Miricris, because a lot of people are wondering, what is up with Kamala? How is she? What is she doing? Is she getting involved with this election fraud thing? I mean, there's been a bit of cynicism that's been a concern.
Because she's not showing her medal, is she?
No, she has not. She did a quick grassroots thing with Tim Walz a couple weeks ago, and that was it. And she has been just completely out of the camera.
We would say at this point, she is being realigned. She's being aligned by some of her helpers to be able to come forcefully into the situation. But she couldn't do it until we would say the middle of December or a little bit beyond that, because it was too fragile a system. And she could have gotten very ill, which wouldn't have worked very well. And then we'd been back at zero. She's going to come back fighting, and she's going to come through very strongly.
With the election fraud stuff?
Well, she doesn't want to do fraud. Is that what you're saying?
No. She's going to come fighting with the
she's going to stand stalwart like the woman in Mexico.
The election fraud.
She's going to become very stalwart about what is truth and what is not. But she hasn't had the courage, or she was exhausted. She hasn't had the courage or even the patience and insight. But she's being primed and healed and helped, and she'll be coming forward before Christmas.
Right. This just leads me into Stephen Spoonermore, because I'm such a devotee of the work that this man is doing on elections.
He's doing a remarkable job.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, he's this incredible data scientist who works in cybersecurity, and he has been very active in revealing how the hack could have and probably did happen. And he had a number of hypotheses, and he, like any scientist, he has then realized that some of those hypotheses couldn't work. But these data charts that him and a group of other data analysts people, there's a whole group of them, are doing, it's astounding, precinct by precinct. And just calling for a hand recount. That's all they needed. And there's been such frustration for them, because it doesn't seem like anybody in Washington is listening.
That's exactly true. However, we're saying to you that slowly but surely the grounding is being done, and that he will, more will come in behind him to help buoy up the work he's doing. He's got quite a large network of helpers already. And but all of this, we said that Kamala needs till closer to Christmas. He does too. You see, they're piecing together, and the rabble, the people out there, don't have the patience for this. They want immediate results, but unfortunately, that doesn't usually hold water.
Yeah,
He's doing what it takes. He continually puts out more information, and he's cultivating more and more supports. But some of the support he's trying to cultivate are the people who are invested in the fraudulent system. You understand that?
Yes. Yes.
So he has to keep it so that it isn't a knockdown, drag out fight, you see?
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the most recent things that he's just posted in Substack, which is his vehicle for getting his information out, for those of you who want to follow him, he now has hundreds of people have come forward saying they received $100 checks from Klingons, Elon, Super PAC, thanking them for signing up, though they never joined anything. They were just opened up the mail one day and there was $100 check. So
they have not been given any advantages by that.
So the theory is that there's a duplicate e-poll ledger that Elon had created. Basically, he was stealing. It's identity theft. There's no record of these people voting. There's no record of these people ever signing up, and yet they received a $100 check through the Super PAC.
It's almost as if he paid them to not vote.
It's very weird. And this kind of falls in line with the lottery, as you know.
It actually is weird, but it's it's a real scandal. It's a real, what do you call it? Grift. It's a real grift.
Hmm.
And Elon is going to be in big trouble very shortly anyway, not
Yes.
just for that, but for other things. And he should be.
Wow. Will he be hightailing it back to South Africa?
And we're not sure that he'll be able to go there. He looks like he's being curtailed in a number of ways. It's quite interesting.
Wow.
He's in big trouble. And he'll
Wow.
try to escape. He might even try a spaceship, you know?
Wow. Very interesting.
But he is a bit of he knows how to escape, you know? He's an escape artist.
Yes. Yes.
It's a very, very exciting time on your planet, and there isn't a country that's not touched by it all.
Oh.
There's no country because of all the undercurrent graft and corruption, all of that kind of thing, and the marketing and the Bitcoin stuff. That kind of thing is really all over the world. It's a network of fraudulence and confusion. They try to keep people in most countries confused to a degree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yes. And
Stay tuned, because we'll be watching very carefully to see how is it going to turn out. For example, in Romania, Mexico looks like it's pretty carefully done. Korea is going to be quite positive in a short while, but they've got some steps to go through. You understand that?
uh-huh.
And as we said earlier, China is going to go through something.
Yeah. Interesting. And what
We
about
need it to be all over the world.
And what about Georgia?
Yes, Georgia. Oh my goodness. There's another there's a little more bloodshed there. You understand? There's going to be more bloodshed.
Yeah.
And but it seems like it will retrieve itself from the grips of the dominance.
Wow. This is so absolutely exciting.
It is exciting, and it's
Yeah.
unfortunate that people will die. However, as we've explained, you were talking about the trail to being an angelic being. You know, you can
Mhm.
look at it a little differently, because this is when the worlds literally collide, the invisible and the physical.
Yeah. And do you, Miricris, when we've spoken before, you were talking about how something very big was going to happen in December. Do you think we're still on track for that?
Yes, say the middle of December will be a wild.
Wow. Any sense of what it is?
Well, there's some UFO activity, and there's some different, we're not sure yet at this time, but there's some different clashes with people and organized countries and so on. The clashes are going to get really vivid and pretty scary for a lot of people.
Wow.
But it's not world war, but you could say at another level it is a world war. Understand?
Right.
But there is a pretty good opportunity that it'll be much easier by Christmas. May as well have a rebirth.
A re-election, a rebirth.
And we should probably end this a little sooner now.
Yes, certainly. I know how tiring it can be. Okay.
But
Well,
it's been wonderful to speak with you.
yeah. Thanks, Miricris. I just wanted to tell the audience about two things. One is Veronica is giving 30-minute readings for $65, which is incredible and very generous for Christmas. So anybody who wants to gift a friend or a family member a half-hour reading, or for yourself, I'll put the details down below. And also, we're doing a live call-in show next Friday the 13th at 11 a.m. Pacific time for anybody who wants to call in and ask their personal questions to Miricris and to Veronica. So,
and I do look forward to that, Lori.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. And don't forget to pray a lot, because that really moves the atmosphere.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Blessings.
Good night. Blessings.